how do you embody Africanacity like in your studies basically? Like, we're here, we're all doing different things. I'm in BTech, you guys in year 13 studying different subjects, obviously. So how do you embody it?
If I'm like in America, I will definitely not enter someone's house without knocking, because that is definitely not African of me.
You don't go talking to your parents in a yo this. Oh my god, you'll get bitten for real.
First of all, as someone studying business is not easy, guys. Like, I won't even lie to you.
Honestly,
Business is,
economics.
it's not.
Yo, I
Like,
just want to drop the subject real quick.
Have you heard of physics?
physics has a formula,
Now this
business
brings in
doesn't.
another conversation.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy, and I'm a student here at Riviera. I'm in BTech 3, and today we're going to be having a podcast, a very interesting discussion about Africanacity. And I'm here with my friends. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Dennis, and I'm in year 13. And yeah, I'm African, and I love being African. Yeah, and like, that's just, well, I just give spoilers to what we're going to talk about, but
Hi guys, my name is Gertrude. I'm in year 13 too.
So, yeah, we're going to talk about Africanacity generally. And to different African people, it means different things. So, for me, Africanacity just means that you're proud of being African and you embody the African spirit. Like, don't let what our ancestors fought for, like, don't forget the history, basically. Like, the saying that if you don't learn from history, you're bound to repeat it. So, just be able to embody that and be in a modern context and make it work for you, basically. For me, I'm interested in business and public policy and like change, basically, but that's not the same thing they're interested in. And my definition of Africanacity will be totally different, and how I embody it will be different.
well, Africanacity, I'd say, is embodying the spirit of Africa, you know? Like everywhere you go, you have the values of being African, and like how does that work for you, you know? If you're African, how should you be? Having an idea of your roots and like where your parents came from, your ancestors and stuff like that.
To me, it's like the culture which surrounds African countries, like the continent. I base my definition basically like on what I study, like geographical wise. It's African countries and the culture that surrounds each country to make it like a common thing of the continent.
How do you embody Africanacity like in your studies, basically? Like, we're here, we're all doing different things. I'm in BTech, you guys in year 13 studying different subjects, obviously. So how do you embody it?
I'd say to embody Africanacity is having the values of Africans and like, what it means, like knowing that, hey, if I do, like if I'm like in America, I will definitely not enter someone's house without knocking, because that is definitely not African of me. And like I will once in a while put in a little slang of like my country's language, like like dang, that happened nukuri, something like that, like just a little bit of spice and give it like a little African touch. Exactly. What do you think?
People in the world have different cultures, and embodying Africanacity is expressing your African culture. As my colleague Dennis said, it's all about showing what African people and African culture are like. You don't go talking to your parents in a yo this. Oh my god, you'll get bitten for real. But you'll just say good morning sir, good morning madam, good morning mother.
So for me, how I would say I embody Africanacity in my work is the course I'm studying is more like practical. So you have to really think about solving problems, obviously in a business context, but yeah, think about it. So I always like to shy away from the typical problems you'd be solving in business. Like, how did Google solve this? How did Google solve that? Start thinking, how can I help Inyanje? Like, if I was to come up with a marketing campaign for Inyanje, for example, how would I do it? Do I understand Rwandan culture enough? Because I'm not Rwandan, I'm Kenyan. Do I understand it enough to be able to come up with that campaign? Do I understand it enough to be able to like replicate it in Kenya, to replicate it in Tanzania, whatever other country? Obviously, we come from different contexts. There's different languages we learned first. Some people learn French, others learn English, others learn Swahili. Like, it depends. So when it comes to speaking in English, like in school, some people, maybe I'm gonna mispronounce words. I don't think that it's right that we make fun of them, even though it's funny. In Boggers.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, we're all victims of it. But I don't think that it's right for us to make fun of it, because again, it comes from our culture. Like, our ancestors used to speak different languages and we've embodied that. I think we should just more of embrace it and carry it with us. Like, I'm African, so what? Like, not like it's not a disadvantage. In fact, it's the best advantage, because we all know Africa is the best continent. Like, the subjects you're studying now, what's your vision? Like, how do you plan to let me not trap you and say change Africa, but how do you want to like make a small change? It's a drop in the ocean, but it's gonna contribute to something. So
What I do right now is sciences, like math, physics and computer science. And these days, I see most people like Africa has big brains, and most of them are exploited. People get scholarships, and they go there because it's all for the money and for the sponsoring, but they don't know that they're exploiting them to other countries. And I want to make a change. Like people, we are capable. Our schools are capable of teaching. Like I go to an African school, I speak English, I get nice grades. Why can't people do the same? The universities which are top ranked and people are just underrated. And I want people to see that Africa, we can develop ourselves using our own education without exploiting ourselves outside and develop developed countries.
Africa doesn't have problems. Like the other worlds, like the other continents try to convince us, like, Africa has problems. Which I'm not saying that we don't have problems. Like everybody has problems. Even America has problems. But our definition of our problems and how we decide to solve them, because we can't expect that, an American is going to come and solve, for example, Kenya's problem. It doesn't work because they don't understand our continent, they don't understand our culture. If I don't effect the change now, who will? Because we are literally the next, like Africa has the youngest population and we are literally the future. Like us here right now, not in the future when we graduate, but right now. Like what are we going to do? What are we trying to do to basically make our continent better, as not for ourselves only, for us, for our parents, for everyone else here. So if it's arts, if it's sciences, I don't see why we cannot, try and do that, which is basically that's my vision. Whatever I end up doing, I just want to basically do it in Africa. Like I want to see that by the time I die, someone in Africa has benefited from something that I did or something that I started. Not for the glory on me, but
Is Africa good at the education thing? And why do we have all these different things within Africa if Africa is good at that education thing?
maybe they need to consider student voice, because that's something I think in African education systems like kind of lack. Because we're moving into the 21st century. I don't see why all exams have to be done on paper. Like, it's not good for the environment, respectfully. Like, it doesn't make sense. And even with BTech, teachers do the same thing. Like, I give you my work on Google Classroom and you print it. Why are you printing it? Can you not mark it on your computer? Like, it doesn't make sense. So I think that if, as African students and the leadership and everyone involved in education in Africa generally, if we sat down and we put our heads to it and came up with a curriculum that, yes, embodies the history of Africa, because that's one thing, at least, because I studied international curriculums my whole life, like I won't even lie. I always felt that I lacked, like, let me not say the African history, but the touch of Africanness. Like, learning about Hitler was a bit boring for me, because I was like, how is this relevant to me? Like, I'm here in Nairobi, Hitler was like 57 million years ago. Why am I studying about it now? Why do I need to do an exam on it? Whereas we could be studying about the Gaddafis, the Nelson Mandelas, things like that can help us, learn about our continent and be able to like push it forward, basically. So I think if we sat down and put our heads together and said, this is the African curriculum, like basically took an EU approach, like this is how it is, the standard for everyone, I think we'd get good at it.
You're not telling me Africa is not doing this. That is why America is not asking for the African curriculum. You're not telling me what the problem is. What's the problem in the status quo?
I personally think the problem with African education systems is like they want everyone to be in the same page. It's like, international programs give people a wider range of options. African education system, you're stuck to one page. I tell you, I studied 6 years. 6 years and plus 2 years of secondary, but still, I have the same mentality up to now. I'm doing Cambridge, but I have a mentality of a person who did a national program. That's how it's affecting me.
I personally think they give us enough option. Like they do give us enough option, but like, where is the problem? Because I do see that we're actually doing something. The national program, all these different African programs work for the people, for the students, and give them actually. If you even notice at how hard these different things are, they're really complex and do give you like a wider range of explanation than other systems. So they do give us that.
I would say the major thing that they don't have is probably the support. Like when you're studying Cambridge, BTech, whatever, it's internationally recognized. In this school, for example, BTech, we have our computers all the time. You guys have your computers some of the time. We are able to do research when we need it and how we can like basically get into these different programs, research our different interests.
I'd say the whole basis of education in Africa has been in giving people 7 options of what they should do. Yeah,
Geography,
yeah. You're either a lawyer, a doctor, or like a business person, a pilot. Yeah. Generally, it's we devalue different things that other curriculums actually do value, and I think to empower Africa and like bringing in the Africanacity touch would be would be giving our programs access to all these different things and giving students and everybody who gets to do education all these different things and allowing them to grow and discover themselves and not giving them seven little holes to fit in.
Maybe the governments are trying to make like these combinations we do like in the national program based on like we need doctors, so there are only two options, PCB and MCB, nothing else. See?
Let me add something to that. You know, our generation have this thing where we have this whole purpose and passion versus like necessity, basically. So I think personally, if I was dying in the village, I want a doctor who's actually passionate about treating me, not just treating me because they studied PCB in high school. Like, will you actually take time? I don't know if you guys have had that experience where you go to like the hospital, right? And there's this doctor who's treating you, right? And you can see you're literally just another paper. Like, they just want to sign, give you medicine, and get you out, like out of that office. Whereas the others, I think, I don't know if it tends to be the older doctors. For me, that's my experience. Like the older doctors, they want to sit, listen. Okay, yes, you have asthma, but how did you get asthma? Why do you have asthma at this age? Like, what's not going on with you? Whereas,
Actually, that comes in with the point of necessity. See, you believe that we should do like curriculum should work with necessity, and that makes this whole circle of we should make people do this because it's necessary. How many doctors that there gonna be in the future? Because the market itself of doctors, it takes about 7 years, to exactly, and like at the end of the day, I like our generation, the Gen Z, like if like 3 generations forward, everybody will be a doctor. Everyone will be a doctor, and there will be no space left in the doctoring place industry. Like generally,
not even that. Not even that. You guys, you know, we've been through a lot in our educational journey. Like we've had Corona, we've had all these other things. I don't think personally, if I was studying PCB and you told me, Wendy, you're gonna go to school for another 14 years to study first medicine, then become a neurosurgeon, and then you have to practice for like another 10 years after that before you can actually become like respected in the field, basically. I don't think I'd have the stamina for that. I wake up one day and I'm like, guys, hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I studied medicine, but now I'm here and we're gonna talk about medical topics on YouTube.
yeah.
Like literally what I was saying, I was based on the government vision, not my vision.
Well, but like yeah, exactly. But it is a problem. Like it's we haven't exploited so many things, and that's why we get exploited. That's why we get exploited because we don't exploit what we have already, and that's why people leave the African continent to find places that value what they want, what their passion is, and at the end of the day, all that's left in Africa are doctors.
But that you but yeah, true. That's what I was about to say. Like you see, these days, everyone. I have a problem. It's now a personal problem. Literally, someone goes in secondary or high school, does science combinations. Later, to go in uni, first year, business, lawyer. What's the point of doing the science? No, I think it's a problem that there are some people who actually have the talent and the capability of handling science, but because or science is too hard in uni, so let me go to do business. That's their passion, doing business. What's the point of you're wasting the resources that are given to you? It's a problem too.
First of all, as someone studying business, business is not easy, guys. Like I won't even lie to you. Business is it's not like
want to drop the subject real quick.
Have you heard of physics?
physics has a formula, business doesn't.
This brings in a different conversation.
But basically, what you're trying to say is how, you know, they have to fit us into these things and people follow all that. Personally, when I joined high school, I thought I was going to be a psychologist and I was taking mostly sciences, but I hated them. Like, not that I couldn't do them, I just hated them. Anyway, guys, that's it from us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
It slapped. It was good, and I believe Africa is gonna be good. Like we are.
Yeah. Yes, we are the future of Africa, and hopefully, what we do ends up benefiting the generation of our kids and our grandkids.
Exactly.
All right, guys, peace.
This is-